I'm just going to make a brief statement on the CETA, the Canadian-European Trade Agreement, and it's brief, and the only reason I'm stating it is because it's probably surprising. CETA doesn't, or see, I'm saying CETA, it'd be CETA? No, because the A makes the E long, right? I'm sorry, the E makes the C silent, that's what I meant to say. Well, can you think of a word with that CE that you pronounce K? I think every word I've ever seen with CE is S. Including the often mispronounced Celtic. Citation. Yeah. Anyways, you're probably thinking, she's an anarchist. She doesn't like trade agreements. What about Brexit? Yeah, right. In fact, no. I'm very much in favor of the idea of free trade. I recognize the theory of comparative advantage. Ricardo was broadly, well, I believe that Ricardo self-identified as a socialist. That's right, guys. Comparative advantage? That's an idea that was come up with by a socialist. It's true. They call it Ricardian socialism. And it's built on comparative advantage. Comparative advantage is a left-wing idea. Okay? And free trade is a left-wing idea. The thing is that means free trade, not corporate rights agreements. Right? And most of these trade agreements that are put up are not free trade agreements. They're very protectionist. They're designed to protect corporations, harm workers. Really, I mean, the main point of it is to get around government regulation on labor laws, right? So if you move your factory, 10 miles down the road on the other side of the Mexican border, then you can pay your workers, a fraction, and you don't have to. I saw something a little while back where they did inspections in a lettuce factory in Mexico, and they found out that the floor was full of cow dung. So you had workers standing in cow shit as they were packaging your lettuce, and then you wonder why you end up with E. coli in your lettuce. They were standing in cow shit. Literally. You can't do that here. You can't do that in the States. You can't do that in the UK, and you can't do that in France, and you can't do that in Germany, or in Sweden. Is Sweden in the EU? No, it's NATO. Sweden's not in NATO. I think they're in the EU. So Europe has good labor laws. So we can start talking about free trade. Because that's one of the prerequisites, if we're going to talk about comparative advantage, that we have comparable labor laws. And then, yeah, Sweden can make IKEA shit faster. Actually, maybe we can send them the wood. I don't know, maybe they're running out of wood in Sweden. Built too many boats. You don't even get that joke, do you? That's how far the Vikings are back in time. You don't even get it. Anyways, I'm not. I mean, there's gonna be some things about an agreement like this that I don't like. They're the same things that I don't like about NAFTA. They're the same things I don't like about the TPP. I mean, besides the wage issue, right? the investor-state dispute mechanisms are the big thing, right? But all of these countries are in the WTO. And, like, if when Japan sued, or when Japanese investors sued Ontario, they did it through the WTO. And we had to shut down our green energy system, which was a great idea, and it was because it was favoring Ontario energy producers over foreign investors. It's not because we had a free trade agreement with Japan, it's because Japan and Canada are both members of the WTO. In fact, if we did have a free trade agreement with Japan, maybe there'd be less of a problem. So I'm not, like I said, I don't like these parts of. I mean, I haven't read the deal. I haven't even browsed the deal. I'm saying I'm sure that this stuff is in there. And in fact, I found an article talking about it, so it is in there. And I don't like them, and I'd like to take them out, sure. But it's not really going to make any difference, because if France wants to sue Quebec for unfair wine and cheese laws, we smoke in church. Yeah, come get me, guys. Come at me. Then they're going to do it through the WTO, whether there's a free trade agreement or not. And in fact, if there is a free trade agreement, then maybe they might have less of a reason to sue through the WTO, right? So yeah, there's lots of stuff I don't like, sure, but it doesn't. The reality is that it's largely moot. So what I'm more interested in is, okay, what are the working conditions? What are the wage structures? They're good? Okay, great, let's tear these tariffs down, let's trade. Right? Comparative advantage? That's a socialist idea, I'm down with that. And, as mentioned, there is an article here in the Globe and Mail. Specifically, there's a group in the Belgian Parliament. Are they done with their anarchy yet? I guess they are. Last time I paid attention to Belgium politics, they were on like 3 years without a government or something. I guess it's back in working order now. Although they're not. They're still being kind of stingy about signing stuff, I guess. Huh? The point here was it's just confirming that in fact there is Chapter 11 bullshit in this agreement. But Belgium's in the WTO. If I was going to say chocolate, but the chocolate comes from Africa. And I surely hope that we trade directly with the Congo. I suppose the Congo is called Zaire nowadays. I'm just spinning out into total nerdery here. But what does Belgium? No, the Dutch make those wood shoes. What the fuck do they make in Belgium nowadays? Now they don't make chocolate anymore. Or do they still import chocolate and pretend it's theirs? What the fuck do they make in Belgium? United Nations agreements? Okay, so if they want to trade some United Nations declarations here, or some UN declaration company, I'm being silly, but this isn't even making sense. But if some Belgian company wanted to sue us, they're going to sue us through the WTO. They're not going to sue us through this trade agreement, right? So, like, I don't really want to argue with them. I agree with them. But the real battle is in reforming or abolishing the WTO, not in holding up the right kind of trade agreement, right? This is the kind of trade agreement that we want. Is an agreement with a country like Europe, or Europe is a continent. It's not a country. I'm not a country like Africa. Yeah, but an economic grouping like Europe or a country like Japan, right? Australia is fine. I wouldn't even be so opposed to the TPP if they took, the Vietnamese and the, is Indonesia in it? Indonesia, terrible, terrible records in Indonesia. Like if you took that out, but I mean that's the point, right? Is to control these essentially slave-producing regions, right? Europe's an advanced, industrialized block of nations. That's what we want to trade with when we can, or at least the things that we want to trade with, right? That's where free trade actually makes sense. So let's do that, and let's not hold up the agreement over provisions that I may not support, but exist anyways, right?